Do you want to discover more joy, peace, and freedom with food, exercise, and your body? Here we bring a compassionate, holistic, and sustainable approach to fitness so you can fully enjoy the life you want and express your unique self with the world. I'm Michelle Roscoe, and I want to help you find fitness freedom. I'm so glad you're here. What is freedom to you? Where in your life do you feel free? Where in your life do you not feel free? My whole life, I've wanted freedom. When I was a kid, I wanted my Lego people to be independent. So I would create these little camper van type vehicles where they had everything they needed, or motorcycles where they had these little compartments that they could take with them. I was obsessed with cargo pants because they had lots of pockets where I could carry everything I needed in them. I was so into survival tools, compasses, MREs, which are meals ready to eat from the military, and anything that would let me be independent, basically self-sufficiency. I was told many times as a girl that I couldn't do certain things because I was a girl, or I had to act a certain way because I was a girl. I had to be ladylike and proper and feminine, and I felt trapped. I turned to physical movement for refuge and relief. I did a certain amount of push-ups every day. I took pride in how many pull-ups I could do. I would have arm wrestling competitions with other boys and always went to win. And by the way, I did have a track record where I had higher points. And I'm just saying, I wanted to be strong because if I couldn't do all the things that I wanted, at least I could have a body that could. If I couldn't do all the things that I wanted, at least I could have a body that could. That was my way of finding freedom in an oppressive world for girls, especially for a little queer girl. I was excited to leave for college. I remember that restless, itchy feeling to be on my own, to be independent. So I finished high school a semester early. I was homeschooled and I did extra work. I paced myself so I could be done by, I think it was November, and go into the spring semester in January at my college. It was expected of girls, of women in my world, to become teachers, to marry pastors, to become mothers, to stay at home, to support the family, to raise up the man of the house. And there weren't many options. Basically, in my school, the choices for women, it was a Bible college, were teachers. You could learn education. You could learn missions, and there were some different tracks for that, and secretary work at the time. I think those were the three main options for girls, and I chose to do missions with a linguistics emphasis. I never wanted to just get married and be a wife and be a mom. So I found my next step out of that world really subconsciously. I was just looking for freedom with the idea to become a Bible translator, anthropologist, missionary in the jungle. So I would learn about language and help undocumented languages create Bibles in their heart language or their original language, which I still think is pretty badass. So I was into language, travel, independence. And I found a school in England that would accept my school's credentials at the time, which were not much to speak of. And that would be one step farther away from the world I was in. By the time I got to England, which I did, hurrah, I had already spent a couple of years in quote unquote the real world. I was a teacher in Korea, an English teacher. And though I was still very much in that religious mindset, I wanted to explore. So I wore pants for the first time since I was a kid, and I'm not lying. I wore skirts and dresses for pretty much from when I was 11 to when I was 21. So for 10 years, I wasn't allowed to wear pants. So I tried pants on for the first time. and figured my body out. I tried out alcohol for the first time. I was dating around, and that's to put it very generally. I was going out on weekends, everything I was told I shouldn't do. And by the time I got to England, my desires had changed, and I questioned if I even wanted to do missionary work, but I still finished my degree, and I have a master's in field linguistics. Still pretty cool, and I enjoy linguistics. After I realized I was queer in my mid-20s, my world crumbled. I could see the pillars of my world shatter. Everything that I thought was true came undone. And I had to rebuild my belief system. I had to rediscover myself. I had to decide whether to hide and be accepted in my world or to come out and live my truth. And at that point, it was an easy answer. Not that it was easy with the repercussions, but it was an easy yes. I couldn't hide myself. I wanted to be true to myself because I wanted freedom. Then I did what was the ultimate taboo in my world. I dated a woman and then married her. We chased more freedom together. We backpacked around Asia. We worked on vineyards in New Zealand. We were taking risks for the sake of adventures, not knowing exactly what the next step was, spending nights sleeping in a little station wagon in random places around the world. And in my work, I enjoyed teaching. I continued my ESL career throughout. But I knew I wanted so much more, and I knew I wouldn't be my happiest self if I continued just teaching. So I had the nudge to create my own business. Why not make my passion my work? Because although with my eating disorder as a teen, I thought I was in control, I realized through my recovery that it was the eating disorder that controlled me. And when that became clear that I was destroying myself because of this illness and I was under the control of something else and I did not have true freedom, I wanted to take my freedom back. It was a battle, a war, a struggle over time. Something that had become so intimate to me, such a big part of my inner world, something that helped me survive difficult years of my life as a coping mechanism, something that made me feel so safe and gave me structure and reliability. When my world did not feel safe, I had to let that go. And I've had to learn that true freedom is not needing something outside of you in order to feel free. It's realizing the freedom you already have within you to choose your thoughts and actions in each moment, no matter how much of you is stripped away. And I haven't experienced the deepest, darkest parts of humanity. We all have just, experienced difficult times in our own ways. But if you think about someone who has experienced some of the most dark, gross parts of humanity, it would be Holocaust survivors, right? People who endured so much loss. And I, last year or 2 years ago, it was 2023, early 2023, I listened to Viktor Frankl's book. I can't even recall the title. It always happens to me on my podcast. I can't remember things because I'm in this focus mode. You probably can think about it. Man's Search for Meaning. There it is. And he says in this book, and I've clung to this and I've really held on to it, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And there are always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you become the plaything to circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity. And this is coming from someone who barely had any food, who was forced to do long hours of human labor, who lost his family members, and somehow he kept hope, and he realized that he still had the freedom to choose his attitude, no matter what the circumstances were. And that's so empowering to see that from someone who endured such suffering. For us who have not endured that much suffering or that much darkness, to remember that we always have a choice. So back to my story, I had discovered some measure of freedom. And I say some measure because I learned a lot more later on since then, even in the past 4 years. I had discovered some measure of freedom with exercise, food, and I wanted to share that with others. And it was my passion. So at the beginning of the pandemic, never having taken a business class, never having gotten a loan or investors, or getting really any support outside of what I chose to support me, not knowing anything about KPIs or how to do a profit loss statement, all that business stuff, I dove into creating my own business. And that was over 4 years ago. And I'm so proud to say that through really dark times, through really difficult times, and through really high highs, I've continued with it. And it's something that I love. That was over 4 years ago, and I'm still carving out the life of freedom that I want. I spent so many years of my life without freedom to express who I was, to wear what I want, to do what I wanted, to eat how I want, to look how I want, that I craved freedom. And I keep taking steps to create the life of freedom I want. So for you, my friend, what is freedom to you? Where in your life do you have freedom? Where in your life are you not experiencing your full freedom? How important is it for you to have freedom in your life? And what would it look like for you to be completely free? I've learned some things about freedom. True freedom is free from oppression, not only of yourself, but of others as well. If we have to take freedom from others in order to have freedom for ourselves, that is oppression, and it's not true freedom. I think about 4th of July coming up and the history of America. The first settlers came to America for freedom. They wanted freedom of oppression from England, and they wanted religious freedom. And as time progressed throughout history, we can look back and see that they stole other people's freedom in order to grow, to take what they wanted, which is not true freedom. They hurt so many of the Native Americans, killing them, forcing them out of their own land, lying to them, bringing slaves from Africa to work their crops so that they could be prosperous at the expense of others. And that is not true freedom. That is oppression and abuse. I want to name that here. True freedom is knowing you always have a choice in each moment as to what you believe and how you act. And no one can take that from you. No one can take that from you. That is what you always have. True freedom is not needing a specific condition in order to feel okay, but to know that you are already enough and worthy and valuable. You are already self-sufficient, so to speak. Regardless of what you do, how you act, or what others think, you are already worthy. Freedom is the ability to express who you are because you already accept yourself, and others' opinions, sure, they affect you, but they don't determine your choices. Freedom is choosing the life you want to live because you want to, and making choices to create the life you deeply want. When I describe health, I see it as 3 things, and this is in the 4-H method. This is on my website. You can find this. It's emancipation from your own inner critic and from the opinions of others and their standards. It's energy to do what you love. With the people you love. It's empowerment in your body to feel confident, to know how your body works and to know what it needs and why and how to give it to yourself. Emancipation, energy, and empowerment. And I want to take this into fitness freedom, which is the title of this podcast. And the reason I created my business is freedom for myself and freedom for others, to help others discover freedom in their own bodies. If you're oppressing yourself with diet or exercise rules that hurt you or that hurt other people, that is not freedom. If you feel compelled to make specific choices that you have to, or else there are some consequences involved with that you feel like you have to do, and it's not enjoyable and it's not something you want to do, that is not freedom. If you need to weigh a certain weight or be able to do a certain thing with your body or look a certain way or wear a certain size in order to feel okay or good about yourself, my friend, that is not freedom. If you don't practice acceptance of yourself, all the self, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, the hard stuff, the confusing stuff, and you only choose the things that you like about yourself or that other people accept, that is not true freedom. If you need to gain or have others' approval, whether it's from society or a specific person or a system or a set of beliefs, that is not true freedom. If you need to compare yourself to others and come out better in order to feel good about yourself, that is not true freedom. So what is freedom? How do you have freedom in your life, in your fitness, in your body, with food, with exercise, with yourself? The portal to your freedom, my friend, is knowing that you deserve to feel good because you are already whole and enough, and there's nothing you need to do to earn any more wholeness or worthiness or value. And you have everything you need inside you and in the resources and support around you. It might take some work to recruit those resources and get that support on your end, but you have them available to you. And freedom is knowing you have the power to create what you want for your life and that you deserve it. That is freedom. My friend, you are free. 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 Now go live like it. Create your freedom. Freedom that is free from oppression of yourself and others, because that is what true freedom is. Hey there, me one more time, because this is my podcast. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. If you would be so kind and generous as to leave a review, a good review, it would mean a lot to the podcast and to growing this so more people can get a hold of it. If you would like to get more support, continue listening to this podcast. Follow me on Instagram, friend me on Facebook. You can find me in the link in the show notes. Always feel free to reach out to me. An email is always welcome. Happy to hear from you. And the best way that I actually can help you is, if and when you're ready, is for you to join the 4-H Method. It's my signature program, and it helps you make your body your home and your health your hero journey, transforming your health and life from the inside out. Remember, you are worthy, you are powerful. Like you, love you, Coach Michelle.